spectacular, some precious little being, and God has trusted me with this. And Lord, I want to honor you because I'm telling you, your job will take your time. It'll take your energy. All the things, that the daily grinds that we go through, all that's there will take so much from us. If we're not careful, at the end of the day, when we see our kids, we're so wore out that, man, it seems like if somebody else asks just one more thing of you, you're going to try to blow away, you know. But that is our high call to invest in these young people for the cause of Christ. We're going to be in Deuteronomy chapter 6 today. Toward the end, we're going to ask Mom and Dad to come up and with the children, and we're going to ask them some questions. Now, church, you have a part in it. More than ever, I think that I understand how important you all are and we are in the lives of the children of one another. There are so many times when we're working out here that we're doing stuff, even at the beginning of each service, when I'm doing the head count to try to find out if I've got my children, you all have kind of joined in and you're spotting them too, you know. But how many times when you do all the things together that you do, when you do the Friday Night Lights, when you host the shows, when you have roundup days, when you go through the hayride, and we are watching one another's children. I have had countless, bless her heart, somebody took my children yesterday, 4 of them, from almost 12 hours, okay? And to show you, not only did God do a miracle by healing Chuck's back, she didn't even need to be Baker acted at the end of that. So God is in the miracle business. I want you to understand that. But you invest in the lives of each other's children. You invest in the lives of children whose parents you never see. There are some that you encounter throughout the week that come that mom and dad don't come to church. That they never hear the gospel. They never see that example except from what they get from you. So when you understand this as a church, and you function so well as a church body. We were talking to Stephen and Jessica last night, and Jacob asked the question. Well, I was talking about one of the things that got done, and Jacob said, well, who did that, Daddy? I said, we'll never know. I said, we'll never know. And Stephen said, see, that's what a church does. They take care of the body, they take care of one another, nobody looking for credit. That's what a church does. That's what the body of Christ is to do. And we thank you for that. Now, we have to do that in our children because we need to understand that there's a war out for the souls of your children. We live in a world where the devil wants your children. He wants your young men through pornography. He wants them through filthy language. He wants your young women by making them feel inferior, by making them feel there's this magazine cover they've got to live up to, and it's every single where around them. Everywhere. You cannot go to the supermarket without seeing some scantily dressed woman on the front of a cover that entices your young men and also makes your young women think, well, will I ever look like that? And the devil has taken and created this thing where the world is telling them, this is what you want. Now, we're seeing in Hollywood right now where you have created an atmosphere where sex is everywhere. And they present these movies and everything, and we see it, and then you find out behind the scenes that when you try to take that life and make it real, people get hurt. So we've seen all that go on, and your children live in that, and it is everywhere. And we've got to be so careful not to drop the ball as we invest in our children for the cause of Christ and being able to say there's a right, there's a wrong, sex is a beautiful thing, and God has created it. It is a great thing within the confines of marriage between a man and a woman. That is where it's to be, and it's a great thing. So that is one of the things you fight so much as a church, as parents, as adults in this over-sexualized society that we live in. So they've got to hear it from you. And man, it is uncomfortable. Paxton set me up when Jacob was 4. We were riding down the road. We just left the Shelton's house, and Paxton and I were talking about cows coming into estrus. And Jacob says, what is estrus, Daddy? And Paxton says, yeah, Daddy, what is estrus? So fortunately, growing up around a farm, you get a little bit of help in situations like that, whether you want it or not. But anyway, we got to teach them about Jesus. And it's not just what we tell them, it's what we show them. It's what we do, how we define our priorities, how we lay out worship, how we carry out that which we're told, going and telling them we're sorry, giving examples and not being afraid to let them know when we fail miserably. And to share that with them, to instruct them. If you go to Deuteronomy, now tradition holds that George Washington actually had had the Bible open to this text when he was sworn in as the first president. That's just a traditional thing. It's hard that we can find no official documentation of that, or I haven't found any. That's what tradition holds to. But if you look at Deuteronomy chapter 6, and beginning in verse 4, it says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one." We need to remember that God is God, and there's none like Him. Verse 6 says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And these words I command you today shall be in your heart." So the first thing that needs to happen for you to teach your children about the love of God is for you to be filled with the love of God. That's what's got to happen. How is my relationship with Jesus? We've had parents send their children to church because they knew they needed to be there, but it wasn't something they were willing to pursue. I shared with you a few weeks ago that of all the things that I had in my life, of those that had tried to get me to church, those that had tried certain things, my plumb line, my gauge for what was right and wrong was my dad. What did Daddy say about it? If Daddy talked a certain way, then it must be okay to talk a certain way. If Daddy watched a certain thing, it must be okay to watch a certain thing. That was my plumb line, regardless of what Gary Winstead, who was my youth pastor, said, regardless of what folks at work said, or at our school, regardless of that, Daddy was my plumb line. Because in your mind, as a young man or as a young woman, and by many of you as adults, you'll look back and say, I was told stuff by certain people, but as I was listening, I tried to cut my eyes over here and look at Mom and Daddy and see what Mom and Daddy said about it. How many of you would say that was true in your own life? How many of you say that was the gauge you were by? Okay. So that example comes. And there's a story about a little boy that got home, they were driving home from church. I don't know if this was our family they were watching or it was another one, but they're driving home from church and everybody's fussing and fighting and bickering and everything, and then they get there around the table and they bow their head to pray, and the little fella asks, "Daddy, did God believe what we just said now or what we did on the way home from church?" I don't know that it was my family that they were watching. I don't know. And I know none of y'all ever done that or had that happen with you, so you just have to trust me as I explain the experience to you. Some of it's a little different. You're trying to get out of the house and you can't understand for the life of you how someone can take a pair of shoes off the night before and go to bed, and now it's time for church and you're barefoot going out the door and you can't understand it, so you're stressed and you're going there and you're in the car and you come, "Hey, brother so-and-so, how are you doing?" And your kids are like, "Who are these people and where did they come from? Because this is not who I just left the dick with." There again, I do not know that is my family. I'm just saying I have experienced similar situations. Okay? So, when we look and see this, I have to have the love of God in my heart. And the love of God in my heart has to mean that here's the number one priority for my children. My number one priority is not what kind of car they drive. It's not even what kind of education they get. It's not what kind of house they live in. My number one priority, the one thing that's going to matter 10,000 years from today, is does my child have a relationship with Jesus Christ? 10,000 years from today, it is not going to matter if that child drove a Ford F-350 with a matching horse trailer. It's not going to matter what neighborhood he lived in. It's not going to matter what job they had or title. It's not going to matter. But what will matter 10,000 years from today is, did my child have a relationship with Jesus Christ? Therefore, I need to make sure I'm in the spot that I need to be in so I can take care of my first ministry. My first ministry is my children, and my wife, and then my children. That is my first ministry. I have to invest in my wife and in my children, and they have to come first. So as we make that investment, if I miss that somehow, do you know, deacons and pastors, that us getting that one wrong can disqualify us from ministering to other people? If our family is not in order, then we get to the spot where we are then disqualified from pastoring or being a deacon into this family. It is that important because we've got to have that right. So the first thing is that we have the love of Christ in our heart. We love Him with all our heart. It says, listen, verse 7, you shall teach them diligently to your children. Who should? The pastor, the deacon, the Sunday school teacher, the Christian school. Those are all good, but did you know we're just back up? We'll ask you all the questions today. Will you make a commitment to teach these to your children? Because what's going to happen is Mom and Daddy are engaged. No matter what I say, Mom and Daddy are engaged of what is right and what is wrong. So when we see that, you have that responsibility. And listen, you shall talk of them when you sit in your house. Look for opportunities to talk about the gospel with your children. And, sometimes those opportunities come easy. Sometimes they start out, do you want to die and go to hell? Does it matter at all? Again, I'm just saying, but those conversations, when you tell them about the love of Jesus, when you tell them what is right, what is wrong, what God expects, that God is worthy of your love. That's the thing. If you remind them of how worthy God is, that He's worthy of your love, and it's not just you better love God, He's going to strike you dead with a lightning bolt. No. Here's the thing. The Lord is patient and doesn't desire that any should perish. And you tell your child, you say, listen, you went to that, we had a great night out there in Stanvia Farms in that cow pasture. Boy, we went out there, and kids, you got to play in the snow, and you got to go to an old west town with this creepy undertaker, and you got to do all these neat things. But kids, let me tell you something. Did you see that baby? Did you see the baby that was born in that barn? And did you see that there was no room in the inn, and he had to get put in a stable with horses? Kids, that was God's own son. And did you see how he went down, and then God gave that announcement, and the shepherds came, and it was the greatest birth announcement ever given in all of mankind. And kids, did you see that how he did those good things, those miracles? And did you see how he had done nothing wrong? And kids, did you see how they took him and they put him on trial? And he stood there with that murderer. He stood there with Barabbas. And Barabbas should have died that day. Because Barabbas was a guilty man. And you know what happened? They took those chains. And I hope y'all got real chains this year. That just made the hair on my neck stand up last year when I heard those chains fall. But when those chains fell because Jesus took his place. And then the most innocent man in all of existence died the most horrible death. And I'm not even talking about the physical nature of his death. I'm talking at that moment, for the first time ever, the fellowship between God the Father and God the Son had come in. There was the first time ever that fellowship had been interrupted. He said, my God, why have you forsaken me? Because at that point in time, he was no longer in the presence of his Father. And at that point in time, when he experienced a hell that you and I will never experience because of what Jesus did on the cross, if you know Jesus Christ, you will never experience that. Somebody can crucify you today. I've actually heard about some rituals around the world where crucifixion still happens. Torturous crucifixions. Somebody may die of crucifixion today, but nobody has to die the way Jesus died, completely experiencing that second death away from God the Father because Jesus paid it off. So when you go through that and you tell your children that, say, listen now, I want you to understand you had a great time, baby. And then boy, when you got, and I ain't going to get into the resurrection scene too much right now because that's just going to be awesome, okay? But I'm going to tell you, when he come out of that grave, kids, do you understand what that meant? enjoy the snow, enjoy the candy canes, enjoy the Undertaker and all that other stuff. But here's the thing. Don't drop Jesus. Don't forget Jesus. You share that with them and you tell them, that's the whole reason we do this. The whole reason. Because people are looking for something Christmassy to do. Let them come looking for Christmas, and then let's give them what it's really all about. Let's give them Jesus. But we got to make sure we talk to our kids about it. Do you know what it means? So we teach them diligently. We talk about it when we sit in our house. When we walk, by the way, you drive down the road at night and you look over that cotton field and going back that way towards where Will and the Dollars live, and you just see that beautiful picture that God paints every night. You talk to your kids about that, and you tell them, say, you see this beautiful creation that God has given. You see how precious this life is. Do you see how precious this person is? We share that with our children. We share the love of God when we're sitting down in our house, when we're walking by the way, because there's always a reason and opportunity to share the love of God with them. And they're going to remember that. I cannot tell you the things that have come back to my mind this week as we found out that Daddy had graduated, and then it kind of brings back, when we lost Mama and all the things. And I said out loud, I said, Lord, I don't understand how you could have blessed the same three people with the two best parents there ever even was on any business. Because I think back about Daddy reading the Bible. I think back about Mama in the bedroom praying when I played hooky from school, and her praying so loud that I wish I'd have went. And, I think about looking over at holidays or looking out at church and seeing my daddy and seeing his whole family, both his daughters, his son, his grandchildren, the men that his daughters married. And I think, Lord God, I want that so bad for my children. And I want to look out and see my children just feasting on the love of God together, serving. They might be in different stations, but loving God. And as I look back and I think about that, your kids are going to remember that. My kids are going to remember that. But they're only going to remember it if we do. So when we're walking about the way, when you lie down, there's one little boy that said, my mama prays for me every night. And they said, that's great, because every night I hear her say, thank God he's in bed. I don't know if that was my mama neither. But anyway, when you lie down, we don't have a sweet bedtime in our house. I wish we did. I hate bedtime in our house. It is a fight. It is, I am exhausted to be able to get back in the living room and sit down and watch whatever 10 or 15 minutes or whatever show I think I'm going to watch. I hate bedtime in our house. One's crying, one's screaming, one forgot this. You're threatening their lives. If you don't get back in that bed, it's a terrible time. So I knew I was preaching this sermon today. So last night I got the devotion. I said, we better get ahead of a little conviction. So I stood in the hallway and I was like, all right, listen up. I'm trying to share. Shut up and listen to God's love. You hear me? All right? So, and I wish I was joking. But as we're doing, when they lie down and bending over, and the thing about it is, if you'll teach your kids they got to shut up when you're praying for them, you can salvage a little sweet time. But we got to teach them that. So let's look. When you lie down, when you rise up, when you get up, there's no part of the day that it's not a good time to share the love of Jesus. Tell them what God's doing in your life. I did not know this, and you learn something, and just about the time you think you've gotten this parenthood thing down, God's like, okay, level 2. And you're not. But Jacob had told April a few weeks back, says, he said, Daddy never cries. And it bothered him. Well, he got to see me cry a lot this week. Several of you did. And he told April, said, Daddy's taking this hard. And so as we said there, I got to think about it. Well, it's just things I've always tried to not let my children see. I remember seeing Daddy cry when his mama died. I looked out the window. I was 6 years old. I could still see him put his head down on his truck and fall apart. I remember him crying when he was pinned lieutenant bars on Dad. And I remember when Mama got sick. And I just never seen Mama. That's just, my granddad at 10 years old, I went out and hugged his neck. He put his hand on my head and said, you getting to be a young man now. We don't hug anymore. We say, okay. All right, Miss Tammy over here, God bless her. She used to call it the Brother David hug when we go to church. You know. But I'm going to tell you something. When Mama got sick, all that changed. And there started being a whole bunch of I love yous. And there started being, it'd be awkward because me and Daddy do it. I love you. And it'd just be like, you know, who'd get out quicker. You know, it was just kind of, we were just that way. We're just how we're wired. But it changed. So, I want to tell you, you need, and I have learned this week, I need to show my kids what's real. I need to let them see Dad Cryer's now. I need to let them see when man, you look at Mr. Glenn and Claude Spicer, when they're strong and men, but you let them get talking about their family or God. My eyes will start sweating. Let them get talking about their service to their country. The eyes will start sweating. And that's okay. And you know, so I thought about that. Something I thought I was doing that was a good thing, maybe not so much, because the other thing, Dad doesn't do this. Why am I dealing with this? Well, because you aggravating Daddy thought he was doing the right thing, you know. So sorry, but you learn. So when we see this, let your children know where you're at. Let your children know, look, baby, I've made some mistakes. There's times where temptation has got the best of me and I give in to it. But let me tell you what I do to deal with it. Let me tell you about Jesus and His redemption. Share it with them. Share with your children the prayer requests that you have for folks to be saved. When they see what burdens your heart, when they know, you know what? Mama's heart she is just heavy. She is praying for Uncle so-and-so to get saved. Our daddy took the opportunity to share the love of Jesus with them. And your kids are going to see that. And they're going to see that more than they're going to hear anything that any preacher ever says from behind me. Because you are the loudest preacher your kids will ever see. And we need to understand the responsibility that we have that comes with it. It says, listen, it says, you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, that they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. Now, one of the things the Jews did, they were very ceremonial people. We're not required for ceremonies anymore. The law has been fulfilled. We're in grace. But sometimes I think ceremonies are a good reminder. Not necessary. It doesn't give you any additional standing with God whatsoever. We're saved by grace, not of works, lest any man should boast. But they would actually take the little eyelets, little pieces of paper, and they would have the law on the paper, and they would hang them from their wrist to symbolize that everything my hands do should be done for the Father. And then they would actually hang them on their forehead, so it would be right before their eyes that I would see everything through the law of God. And they would do that to teach their children, everything you do, everything you see, should be done and saw in a way that honors the Father. We should put it before our children. But it's not going to be put before them if we don't put it there. I'll tell you something. Listen, if we got your children for 2 hours on Monday, 4 hours on Wednesday, and 2 hours on Friday, and then let's say 2 hours on Sunday, that's 10 hours a week. That's 158 hours that we didn't get them. Now the devil has something for your kids 168 hours a week. There's not a time of day that your child couldn't get up and get to one of these and get all kind of crap right there in front of them. Right in their room. They ain't got to leave their house. They ain't got to go to the store. They don't have to try and hope nobody sees what they're buying. They can get anything they want right there on this phone. And you've got to be looking for it. The devil's got it set up pretty good like that, don't they? They can talk to people who want to do terrible things to your children. They can talk to people who will set your children up. They can do all kind of things right there in the household. And if we're too busy earning a dollar or a dime or whatever our personal interests are, that we miss out on that, then we are moving the first line of defense that our children have. That's it. I don't know if y'all know it or not. He did it long before the shooting, but Daddy patrolled outside armed every Sunday. And God help the person that would have tried anything on the church. He did. He had to protect. You know, we've got to protect. We've got to be a protector of our households. And that means sometimes we say things they don't like to hear. I know right now, and just like I didn't appreciate it then, I know right now these things happen every day in my household. My children don't appreciate it. Now I hope one day when they have some knuckleheads of their own, they'll look back and go, wow, okay, Dad was right. This is hard. And I can go, Daddy wanted to see the Grand Canyon. I want to laugh at my children. Okay, that's the thing. But we got to make sure we're that line of defense. And it's got to come, you know, the first time Don and his kids were little, I had Rachel and Paxton under my tutelage, and he said, what are you teaching my kids? And I'm thinking, did I teach something wrong? No. I just want to know, what are you teaching them? If I'm allowing you, my children, if I'm allowing my children to hear you, I need to know what they're hearing. Well done. That's something that we've got to make sure that we are that line. Don't trust that to somebody else. You find others to back you up, and y'all are a good backup. And I thank God for you every day. But it's still my job first for my children, and it's your job first for your children. We've got to make sure we're not neglecting that. It says, listen, you shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. Your household ought to be a memorial to that which you live by. I mean, that's a big job, ain't it? That's a big job. Well, as we think about that today, and I'm thrilled, the last 3 children that have been saved here have been led to the Lord by their parents. How cool is that? And you know, we don't do the invitation. Well, the invitation is, if the Holy Spirit is dealing with you, you come get me or Jimmy or one of these deacons. And there's several other people in this church that'll tell you about Jesus, and we'll spend all the time with you need. We want to make sure you understand. We will share the love of Christ with you. And I love it when somebody calls me and says, Brother David, I need to talk to you. Or somebody grabs one of these fellows outside, or they're sitting in Stephen's living room, and they just, I need that Jesus. And then you go and you make it that everybody, that your house is a lighthouse. And then when they walk in your house, do they feel the love of Jesus? That's what you want your kids. That's what y'all are here for today. When they bring their friends over from school. Because you know you need to be the cool house, that way you know where your kids are. So you know, mom and dad getting ready to bed, putting in the pool tables, but just waiting over the kids are at, stuff like that. But you know, when they come in, do they feel the love of Jesus? Do they have that hospitality? I remember at lunch, I'd stop by Mama's when I worked in the police department. I'd go in there about 11:30 every day. And sometimes officers would go with me. I thought that was cool. One day I wasn't working, drove up to Mom, there was a couple of patrol cars sitting in the driveway. What's going on? Hey, Sarge, what's up? Stop by to eat. Cool, you know? But they felt that welcomeness. They felt that love, and we need to write it on our doorpost. Somebody ought to not be able to come to our house and they shouldn't be able to come to our house and leave not knowing that we are followers of Jesus. But our children ought not be able to live with us and not realize the followers of Jesus. Amen? Amen. So today, as we're going to dedicate these babies, we're going to assist in the baptism of 2 of Candace's baby, and we're excited about that. We're excited to see what God's going to do in the lives of these young people. But you're a part of that. And you need to not forget it. We need to not take that lightly. Here's the thing. We train them when we're sitting down. We train them when we're walking. We train them when we lie down. We train them with the Word of God in their hands. We train them with the Word of God before their eyes. And we train them with it written on our home. And none of that happens. It's not written on your heart. Our responsibility is to keep the Lord before our children always. So with that said, Mom and Daddy, I'm going to ask y'all to come on up. Bring them Bring them with you. That big old, look at that big old man. This is my day. Now tell us this little fella's name. Will. All right. How you doing, little fella? How are you? Can you smile? Can you smile? Let me see you smile. There you go. All right. Now, Mom and Dad, I'm going to ask y'all some questions. Do you love the Lord with all your heart, soul, and mind? Do you want to train your children to love the Lord? And do you have a plan to train them?
Working on it.
Amen. All right. Me too. All right. Do you set a good example for your children to follow?
Yes.
Do you know the doctrine of the Bible? We can help with that. You got the major and the disciplines of the faith. And will you commit to regular times of devotion for yourself?
Yes.
And for your family? Will you let this church help you with these children? Hey, they will. I tell you, if the church will ask you something, will you pray for these parents and their children?
Yes.
All right. And will you pray for the salvation of this child at an early age?
Yes.
All right. And will you pray that this child will marry a saved spouse?
Yes.
And will you help with the training of this child?
Yes.
We're going to pray. And you know, Hannah, when she prayed for that child, she said, I prayed for this child and she gave him back to the Lord. Because eternally, he's always going to be his. And that's, God has trusted you too. It's such a precious gift. So, and we want to be a part of it. Look, I love that little smile. You know, you like being called precious, don't you? So, yeah. We want to pray for y'all. We want to stand with y'all. As y'all train these little ones up in the way that they should go. All right, well, let's pray. Deacon John, want to come on up here?